next one we are doing is the TurfToe. Okay, there's two directions the turf can be sprained. We can have either a hyperflexion, which would be this direction, or a hyperextension, which most commonly is going to be hyperextension. The person's going to get jammed back. The terms coined, of course, the Astros were the first team to have turf, and what happened is the toe box would jam the toe and force it into hyperextension, therefore spraining the first metatarsal phalangeal joint. You get inflamed, and since this bears 1/3 of your body weight, it gets pretty tough to walk on. So what we're trying to do is either prevent extension or prevent hyperflexion. The tape job I'm going to show is going to actually prevent both. We'll show how to do for both. So, best way to do it is you also need to make sure you know where the point of tenderness is at. So if they're tender right here, we may want them a little bit more flexed and block them there, because when they get to here, that's pain. So you have to know where their pain is, where is it occurring, so then we have to block it from that point. So we're going to keep him in pretty much just neutral, right where he's at, right straight out. So again, you want to apply a little bit of tape in here. It's going to go directly to the skin. We have to apply an anchor strip to the great toe. Got to have something to anchor to. Made it long enough. Just barely. Alright, so now what we do is we have to create, I'm going to put the strips that will prevent hyperextension. So it's going to keep it from going this way. So I want them in a good neutral position. And I'm going to lay one more strip around the toe for a better anchor point. The book only shows one, but we're going to use more. Okay, so now, the first strip is just going to go right on the dorsum of the foot. Length is really not that big a deal. We can go all the way down to the heel if we want to. I'm just going to go right to mid-arch. Okay, so now what they're going to show, the book only shows using 3 strips on the plantar aspect and 3 strips on the anterior aspect. And what we're doing is we're making an X pattern. So here's one half of my X, and then I'm going to come here. There's the other half of my X. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do is if this person is really painful and needs a real heavy tape job, we can do a whole lot more tape if we need to. We can add a whole lot more if that's needed. Okay, now we're also going to prevent hyperflexion, or pushing the opposite direction. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay a strip on the top of the foot. Again, length can be as long as you want. The longer the lever arm, the better support you're going to have. And again, we're just going to make an X on the tops, just like we did the bottom. Sometimes getting in the toes is the hardest part. And again. Okay, so now we have checkering for flexion and checkerings for extension. Okay, the last thing that the book does not show is basically what we call a figure 8 or a spica. And most commonly we're going to do the spica to prevent hyperextension, because that's where most people have the problem. So all I'm going to do is take a long strip, feed it down in between the toes there, and I'm going to pull the toes into flexion, basically around the joint. And we'll do that a couple times. Again, we'll do that a couple times. This is just a checkering to prevent hyperextension. I'm going to try to get it centered as best you can. There, and there. Now we have to close it. Again, we're going to close it very similar as we did with other foot tape jobs. Is again, laying tape through the bottom of the foot. I pull through the arch to help support that arch no matter what the tape job is. If I'm coming through the arch, I'm always pulling up. I always want to help support it no matter what I'm doing. coming on up. And again, we're going to close it at the top exactly the same way as we closed everything else. So on the half strips, closing the top. And if the tape job did its job, it won't be very easy to hyperextend or hyperflex the toe.